monsters hide in the shadows. Others live quietly among their neighbors, smiling, working, and blending in. For years, Jeffrey Dahmer appeared to be just another ordinary man. But behind the walls of his Milwaukee apartment, investigators would uncover one of the most horrifying crime scenes in American history. How could someone commit such unimaginable acts without anyone realizing the truth? Tonight, we open the file on the man the world came to know as the Milwaukee Cannibal. This is the story of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Some monsters hide in the darkness, others walk among us, unnoticed. They hold jobs, speak politely, smile at strangers, and return home every night, carrying secrets no one could imagine. Jeffrey Dahmer was one of those people. For years he lived what appeared to be an ordinary life. But behind the door of a small apartment in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, investigators would eventually uncover one of the most disturbing crime scenes in American history. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. During his childhood, his family moved frequently before eventually settling in Ohio. Friends later described him as quiet, withdrawn, and increasingly isolated as he grew older. By his teenage years, Dahmer had begun abusing alcohol. He struggled socially and rarely formed close relationships. Although those around him noticed his unusual behavior, few could have predicted what would follow. In 1978, just weeks after graduating from high school, Dahmer committed his first murder. He picked up 18-year-old Stephen Hicks, who was hitchhiking near his home. After spending several hours together, Dahmer prevented Hicks from leaving. The encounter ended in violence, and Dahmer concealed the crime. For nearly a decade after that first killing, there were no known murders connected to him. But in 1987, the killings began again. Over the next 4 years, Dahmer targeted young men, many of whom he met in bars, shopping malls, or public places around Milwaukee. He often offered money in exchange for photographs or companionship before luring them back to his apartment. Once there, the encounters frequently turned deadly. As investigators later discovered, Dahmer attempted to exert complete control over his victims. He admitted that he wanted them to remain with him permanently, leading him to carry out increasingly disturbing acts that became central to the investigation. Despite several encounters with law enforcement, Dahmer repeatedly avoided capture. In one widely criticized incident in 1991, a 14-year-old boy escaped from Dahmer's apartment and was found injured and disoriented by nearby residents. When officers arrived, Dahmer convinced them the boy was simply an adult companion who had consumed too much alcohol. Despite concerns raised by witnesses, the officers accepted his explanation and returned the boy to Dahmer's apartment. The boy was murdered shortly afterward. The decision would later become one of the most controversial failures in modern policing. Everything changed on July 22, 1991. That evening, one of Dahmer's intended victims, Tracy Edwards, managed to escape from the apartment while still wearing a handcuff on one wrist. He flagged down 2 Milwaukee police officers and told them someone had tried to kill him. When officers entered Dahmer's apartment, they noticed a drawer left partially open. Inside, they found dozens of Polaroid photographs. The images documented dismembered human bodies. Within moments, Jeffrey Dahmer was placed under arrest. The search that followed shocked even experienced investigators. Inside the apartment, police recovered human remains, preserved body parts, skulls, and other physical evidence connected to multiple victims. The discovery dominated international headlines. As detectives questioned Dahmer over the following weeks, he confessed in extraordinary detail. He admitted responsibility for the murders of 17 young men and boys committed between 1978 and 1991. Many of the victims had been reported missing for years, leaving families searching for answers that would finally come far too late. In 1992, Jeffrey Dahmer pleaded guilty but mentally ill to multiple counts of murder. After a lengthy trial focused on his mental state, a jury determined that he was legally sane at the time of the killings. He was sentenced to multiple consecutive life sentences, totaling more than 900 years in prison. But his story did not end there. On November 28, 1994, while serving his sentence at Columbia Correctional Institution, Dahmer was attacked by another inmate during a prison work assignment. He later died from his injuries at the age of 34. More than 3 decades later, the Jeffrey Dahmer case remains one of the most extensively studied criminal investigations in American history, not only because of the horrific crimes, but because it exposed repeated investigative failures, missed warning signs, and questions about how someone responsible for so many murders was able to avoid capture for so long. It is a case that continues to haunt investigators, survivors, and the families who lost loved ones, because sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones hiding in plain sight.
The crimes of Jeffrey Dahmer left behind more than a trail of victims. They left families forever searching for answers, and a city forced to confront how so many warning signs were missed. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer murdered 17 young men and boys, committing acts so disturbing they continue to haunt criminal history. In the end, the man who spent years hiding in plain sight was finally exposed, bringing an end to one of America's most infamous killing sprees. Jeffrey Dahmer is remembered not for who he was, but for the unimaginable suffering he caused. And while his name became known around the world, the names that deserve to be remembered most are those of his victims. This case serves as a chilling reminder that evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it lives quietly until it's too late. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next file.